Blur, get the Dinobots in the shuttle. I'm trying to, older madness. I don't care. Oh, hey, what's up? It's Fable from One Collection Down, and you're watching S-Fawn 82, Comic Book Addicts. Station.
Station. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a very special Comic Book Addicts. Um, every now and then there's an event or an occasion in this community that I think is worthy of special attention. And this first time was for Comics Here in Cancer. I did one for C3, and it was a lot of fun, and it was a very successful event. And this time it's for a Toys for Tots event. And it's a toy drive that's coming up very soon. And this afternoon, we will be talking to a very special guy that's been a part of this event for the last 14 years, y'all. It's really a beautiful thing, and we're going to talk all about it. But first, I do have a few announcements that I'm going to run through as usual. CBC finalist voting is officially closed. Year 3 has had the most ballots cast yet, so it's been going pretty well, and I cannot wait until the actual CBC Awards. It's going to be a lot of fun to see the results. That is going to be, I think it's Saturday, December 2nd. So I know it's December 2nd. I don't know which day it falls on. I think it's a Saturday, though. But I wanted to thank everybody that voted in general, just that cast votes and helped the CBC Awards to be more successful than it was already last year. And I wanted to thank you guys for that. And I know Brian appreciates it, but I wanted to thank everybody that got Comic Book Addicts nominated. I wanted to thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it. It was something that I wasn't expecting, but I am truly grateful. And just wanted to tell you guys thank you so much. But anyways, I will be having Brian back the week before the CBC Awards. It's gonna, let's see, what's the date? I don't have the date written down, but anyways, I'll have him back the Monday before the CBC Awards to maybe give us a little preview and talk to us a little bit about the work that he put in leading up to it and everything, and talk to him about the 26 different categories and the content creators. And we may even have a special appearance from a pimp named Slaughter. So I hope that you guys will tune in for that. Be sure to come back Monday, though, in 2 days. 2 days after this airs. This will air on a Saturday. So at the time you're seeing this, it should be Saturday afternoon. But come back in 2 days on Monday for the Monday night lineup. If you have not come and hung out with us on a Monday, we have this whole lineup starting at 6:30 with Izzy at Izzy versus NYC. And it's just a whole evening just full of comic book related live streams. It's a lot of fun, but it all starts off at his channel at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. He does the comic book weekly pull list, and he goes over the hot 10 list for the week, as well as some speculation stuff, some movie news, some things like that. And then Comic Book Addicts, my show, it's from 7:30 to 8:30 Eastern time. And we have artist interviews. We have comic book content creator interviews. We have comic book collector interviews. We do a lot of different things, and I mix in some recovery stuff. It's a lot of fun. And then we have Between the Lines, which is an interactive art show. We got TM Nerdy and Geek Out with Roscoe. They have artist interviews, but they do a lot of drawing, and it's interactive. You at home can do. It's topic related shows, and they do like a lot of at home pieces. It's a lot of fun, though. That's at 8:35 p.m. Eastern time. Then you got 22 Comics at 9 p.m. Doing his top 10 alternatives. And this is a lot of fun. It's a really interesting live stream. He gives you alternatives to the hot 10 list. He gives you things that maybe you typically wouldn't think to look for. And it's always really interesting picks. But I enjoy that one. I always enjoy it. It's at 9 p.m. every Monday. And then you got Cupo Comics at 10 with his Monday Night Raw books. And then you got Carlos Collect Comics wrapping up the night at 11 p.m. So it goes the whole evening. But anyways, I hope that you'll come back in 2 days and join us on the Monday night lineup. And let's see. I got anything else? No, I think that's pretty much it. Anyways, let's bring out the guest. My guest this afternoon is a shining light in the comic community. You can catch him hanging with the rest of the Council of Comics crew on Monday evening, and he's always dropping fire comic book related content on his IG as well. Here to talk to us all about all of this, plus a very special event that he has coming up. Y'all help me welcome Cliff to the live stream.
Hi.
What's up, Cliff?
It's great
How
to
you
be
doing?
here.
I'm glad to finally have you on. How you been?
Great. Now that I'm here.
Good. Awesome. Awesome. Well, before we get into the main reason that we're doing this special, the main reason that I had you on, I wanted you to introduce yourself to anybody at home that may not be familiar with you and explain a little bit, let the people know a little bit about yourself and what you're about.
Well, I'm just this weird dude that collects comic books. No, so my name is Cliff. I live in upstate New York. I've been collecting comics, officially collecting comics since I was 7 years old. There's like, I always tell this story. There's like 3 issues of, how I fell in love with Superman. Maybe I was like 2 or 3 when it was like that, where I live was the 2-part evening event for Superman the movie.
Yeah.
So I remember being a kid with Lois falling from the helicopter and Superman jumping up and the screen saying to be continued, and like it drove me crazy. And then I watched part 2 the next night, and then of course I was like crying and screaming because Lois was dying from the earthquake. But I was like so into it, and like my parents were like, "Oh my god, this kid is like out of control, like screaming at this movie." But also I didn't want to stop watching because I was obsessed with Superman, right? And and so like that was like my introduction to Superman for like a hot minute, but then I wouldn't stop talking about it, and I didn't, and like everyone's like, "Oh my god." So I saw like my first comic. It was an issue of Superman, like 390, 391, whatever. I know it's 3 issues. We found one of them. It was the middle chapter. We were at 3 different like drugstores or whatever, and I managed to get the 3 together and forced my mom to read me this story over and over again at like 3-4 years old, with Vartox fighting Superman over Lana Lang, but Vartox was really kind of possessed by this other alien or whatever, like messed with his mind. But and my mom is just like God bless her, right? Because she's just like, I don't wanna, I can't even.
That's so cool that
like,
you did, though.
Yeah, but like the first time she thought it was cute. Maybe the first time, oh look, he's throwing little fireballs at Superman, and Superman's spinning around and knocking away the fireballs. But like, night 30 of this, and she's just like, God. So I was just like, I need this kid to read. It was like, and then she got me those those little books, basically little comic books with the record in them, right?
Oh yeah,
so
I remember those.
Yeah. So I had a Superman one, and I had a Casper the Friendly Ghost one. I had a Wonder Woman one.
Awesome.
I had one of the Star Wars ones. I was like, oh my God, how I wish I could find it now. And and then and like slowly I was kind of like getting the groove of reading or whatever. And then we even had, I got this Justice League one that came with the tape cassettes, right? So I played that a lot. And I love that one because like Batman had like a space armor, and Superman had to free somebody, making a sonic scream to shatter this giant ice cube, in Metropolis's river. And I was like, oh my God. So I have all these great memories of that as a kid. And then one day I'm minding my own business, and the 5 o'clock news is on, the Eyewitness News on Channel 7. And they're like, Superman is going in a new direction. I'm like, what? What do you mean? What's happening? And they announced Man of Steel, and I'm like scrambling. I'm hitting record on the VCR, back when the VCR remote had a big wire that went to the VCR.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh my God, tape, right? So like, and I'm like, look, there's this new Superman series. I got to have it. And there was this place called Lloyd's that existed that essentially was Walmart before there was a Walmart, or at least where I lived, right? Because like I feel like everybody has a similar story where they had a Walmart-esque store in their lives, and then it eventually vanished. So this place was Walmart-esque, right? Like there was a restaurant in there There was a barber shop in there. There was a toy department, a clothing department. There was the supermarket in there. It was all there, right? So, across from like in the entrance, I guess, kind of in the pharmacy section, it's where you can find magazines and comics. And they always had comics on the rack. And when I talk to a lot of friends my age, like Sam at the Council of Comics, he's like, "Oh, I remember the rack at Lloyd's," right? So that's where we found. Yeah, that's where we found almost every issue of Man of Steel. But issue 4 never came in to freaking Lloyd's, right? And I'm losing my mind. When issue 2 of Man of Steel came in, God, I hope this isn't too much for everybody. When issue 2 of Man of Steel came in, there's an advertisement in it for Mile High Comics.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of 50-cent books in there. So my mom called the number and said, "I want every one of these 50-cent books that are listed here. Anything in the title that starts with super," right?
Whoa, that's awesome.
And the guy on the phone is like, "Sure, man, blah, 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 blah." My mom's like, even back in 1984, whatever this was, my mom's like, at 50 cents a pop, like, this is like worth it just to keep this kid shut up and reading, right? So this freaking triple wet tape wrapped thing comes to my door, and in there is a ton of Superboy, a small amount of Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, which made me go, "What in the F is this?" Right? And I was like, I'm like, I don't understand this. And then Superboy number 50, where the Legion guest starred, like that was in there. So I'm like, okay, well, like I'm like, they're friends with Superboy for some reason. Yo, I used to call Chameleon Boy Chamlin Boy or something like that. It was so awful. Yeah, and then
I used to do things like that too. I think we all did.
No, I know, but it was awful because like all my friends at school, like they were into like lizards and stuff. So they were just like, "It's a chameleon. How come we can't say chameleon?" I'm like, "I don't know. I never cared about a chameleon before," right?
So like, we all had our story where we felt like an idiot, though. I feel like everybody has that story.
I have stories where I feel like an idiot from today alone. So, So that was it. But like I was like, okay, so Superboy had friends, Superman, Superboy, yeah. But in the meantime, I'm reading Man of Steel, and I am understanding as I'm reading Man of Steel that this is a reboot, that he is not Superboy. I'm a little disappointed. Also, and oh my God, this is my whole fucking origin story. I'm sorry, everybody.
I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
So in issue 1 of Man of Steel, there's like this whole thing from John Byrne and like how he watched the Adventures of Superman as a kid. And he'll never forget the episode of The Haunted Lighthouse. And I'm like, "Oh, the Adventures of Superman. What's the Adventures of Superman?" Right? And my mom is like, "Oh yeah, there was a TV show." I'm like, "Superman had a TV show?" She's like, "But it was older and it was different." And I was like, "But I've never seen it." So, mind you, all this is going on in my childhood, like kind of neck and neck. So now for a year or two, I am aware that there is a Superman series that exists that people know about that I have never seen, and it's driving me nuts.
So when did you finally see it?
A friend of my mom, at work at the alarm company she worked at, he had a cousin who lived in upstate New York. Oh my God, he lived near Buffalo. I can't remember specifically, right? I know, of course, now it's escaping me, right? But I know he lived near Buffalo. And of course, the name of the area he lived in was in all the advertisements. This guy went up to visit this guy talked to his cousin. His cousin is like, "Oh yeah, the Adventures of Superman is on all the time." Yeah. That dude made 2 complete VHS tapes of Superman episodes for me, gave it to his cousin when his cousin went up to visit, and that guy brought it to my mom. My mom came home from work, opened up her purse with 2 VHS tapes of the Adventures of Superman, and I went to town. And the very first thing on the first tape that I put into the VCR was Superman the Mole Man. And I'm like, "What?" So I watched Superman the Mole Man, which of course, actually was a standalone film at one point, but this was the 2 episodes, right? And I got introduced to Phyllis Coates, but these episodes rarely aired in order up where this guy lives. So it was a 2-parter. It aired together. But then like immediately after was a full color episode with Noel Neal. And I'm like, "Oh, they switched Lois Lanes on me," right? And I'm just watching it and just absorbing all of it. And And then shortly after that, it started airing on Saturday mornings on my local Channel 9 station. And I was like, I've been waiting. How long? I've been waiting my whole childhood for this to freaking show up. So then I recorded all the episodes every week. And then every Thanksgiving, they would do the Super Marathon and hosted by Jack Larson, who played Jimmy Olsen. And I would get so pissed because the episodes were unedited. So I was like, wait, I never saw this scene before. I was like, I didn't see Superman wandering around with amnesia in this episode before. How come I'm seeing this now? I was so mad that they were unedited episodes, right? But I'm recording them anyway. So my mom's like, well, why are you recording them if you already have them? I was like, because these have extra scenes. I was like, look at Superman having amnesia, walking around. I was like, I don't have that in the other version. He just hits the meteorite, and the next thing you know, he doesn't know who he is. So, like,
that's awesome.
You know, but you know, and I will say this, right? Coincidentally, right, on those two tapes, one of the episodes on there was the Haunted Lighthouse. And I was so excited that this episode that was mentioned by John Byrne in Man of Steel #1. I was like, oh my God, I'm finally watching it. And I was like, yeah, it was okay. Like, I was like, I wanted to have this super magical connection. And I was like, and I was just excited I got to watch it. Yeah, but it was just okay. I was more excited by Superman the Mole Man, you know, because like the whole radioactive glow thing, and like I felt Superman really had to put in the work in that.
But man,
you know?
Can we talk about how cool your mom was to you as a kid though? Like that was amazing.
Oh
Some of the things that she did for you though. That was awesome.
No, she did everything for me. And I listen, even when I was a teenager, and people go, oh my God, why are you spending money on his comic books? And she's like, do you see my son running around the streets getting into trouble? She's like, no, so I will gladly play for the comic books, you know? And I was like, oh my God.
Pretty good. You're pretty good growing up.
I was pretty good. I was pretty good. Definitely, I was spoiled. I was the baby, you know. But at the same time, like I was not the one. I was not out there. I was not running the streets. I wasn't like, oh, can I sneak out my window and do? No, nothing. In fact, it's really funny. The only time in my early teens where I did something crazy, we stayed at the Chateau Laurier in Canada for my cousin's wedding. That's where she had her wedding reception. One of my cousins, right? Beautiful hotel. In fact, the hotel at Disney World that represents Canada is a rebuild of this place in Ottawa, right?
Wow. Okay.
It was dude. So back then, this is a long time ago, and like the brunch was 24 Canadian a person. So even then, it was baller dollars for brunch, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, it's like the best brunch I ever had in my life. You know, like it was the first time in my life that you saw dudes with the omelet station, and dude, it was serious. They were serious with the omelet station, and they had this dude had rack of lamb, and my mom is talking to him, and she's like, oh, well, I wanted ends, and he's like, oh, no problem, madame, and he jips down into the rack station, pulled out a fresh rack of lamb, and cut ends off for her, and I was like,
what?
And amazing. They had this, dude, it was amazing. And they had this cheesecake, right? And it had like a strawberry gelée on top. And I was like, oh my God. I didn't even know cheesecake was so good. Like I was like losing my mind. It was like the best brunch of my childhood, right? But the night of the reception, I was mad because my parents wouldn't give me I had a separate room, right? But my parents would not give me my room key, right? So I was really pissed, and we went up really early from the reception, and I was annoyed. So in my luggage, for some reason, I had this roll of tape. Yeah. And I don't even know why I brought it with me. Maybe it was like to retape comic books. We went to the Silver Snail comic book store while we were there. Don't think that I had a trip to Canada without going to a comic book store. And
awesome.
So maybe that was part of why I had this tape, but it was thick. So I balled the tape up and jammed it so that my door wouldn't lock, right? Okay. And then I snuck back downstairs to see what was going on. And I even crashed somebody else's wedding reception.
What?
Yes, and that was like the worst thing I did. And then my Uncle Clifford ran into me.
Uh-oh.
No, didn't even. No, he was already too far gone. He didn't even question. He didn't even question where my parents were or what had happened. He's just talking to me, and I'm not even gonna tell you the conversation. It was super inappropriate, but it was hilarious. And then like one of my cousin's friends, she was like really drunk, and she started arguing with the DJ and started yanking his tapes and tossing them, looking for a song. And I thought that was hilarious, you know. And of course, now that she's much older and has children, she's like, I don't know who you're talking about. That wasn't me. That never happened. And I was like, okay, of course not. No, I'm wrong. But I'm like, I was awake. I saw something. So anyhow, my mom thought that was just like when I told her that, she was just horrified. Like, oh my God, how could you do that? Like, you're like my innocent child, you know? I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, you know, but like, I was just really mad that like, I didn't have my own room key, that I could not wander around this beautiful hotel for 5 seconds, you know? And I was like 13, 14 at the time. So I was like I was really bitter about it. And so I was like, nope, I'm just going to walk around. I'm just going to go check things out. So yeah, that all of this is about me falling in love with Superman. And somehow that got me into comic books.
No, that's totally cool. It's your origin story, man. I wanted to hear it. You actually covered a lot of my questions right there, so that's good. It's pretty easy to tell that you're a DC guy. I usually ask Marvel or DC. You're clearly a DC guy, right?
But you know, I mean, I love them both. Like, obviously, if you're gonna put a gun to my head, I'm gonna lean on DC. But I mean, I love them both. I mean, like right now, I'm reading the hell out of Fall of X. Like, I'm obsessed with it, you know. And so, like, you know, it's just always a thing. But yeah, like at my heart, I'm always gonna be thinking of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the JSA. And by the way, I'm not even that crazy about Batman, right? Batman just gets to exist by proxy. It's like, well, you are part of the Trinity, so like, I'm not gonna kick you out, but you really annoy me with your BS, Bruce. I'm like, you're on a thin line, mister. You know, but then I love the rest of the Bat family. I'm almost like, you see, Dick knows what he's talking about. Tim is so smart. Barbara's amazing. The rest of the kids are really nice. Like, I'm just so excited. Like, even the New Outsiders came out, and I'm like, oh my God, look at Batwoman and Batwing on the cover. No one in the whole store is having that reaction. Only me.
Yeah. Probably only like, you with Outsiders. Yeah, I missed that one. I planned on grabbing just the A cover just to read it, but I missed that one to grab it later.
They didn't have any left? They had no Outsiders #1 left?
Oh yeah, I just missed it. I overlooked it.
Grab the B cover. It's a beautiful Dan Mora, Batwoman, and Batwing.
I'll have to go back anyway because for some reason my shop didn't get any Marvel today. So
I only came home
with 3. Yeah, I came home with 3 books today. And I did get Geiger though. Picked up the new Geiger.
Yep, me too.
Excited.
I felt like if I didn't buy it, the wrath of Mark was going to travel the internet and find me.
Yeah. Shout out Legion. Anyways, what's up with this Council of Comics crew? Tell me about the Council of Comics.
So first of all, they're great. We've got. Oh my God, I want to do the Powerpuff Girls song. We're like, damn, he is the one and the leader. But like, thanks to Sam, all the music from the Council of Comics that is not provided by StreamYard is Sam's original music.
Oh, that's awesome.
So like our intro, Where Are the Heroes? He wrote that. One of his buddies is the one singing it. And that same dude, he called him up and it's like, hey, can you just like do this new comic book day ditty? So every once in a while where you like just hear in the background, it's new comic book day. It's the same dude. That dude just banged it out in one evening and gave it to Sam. And I think that new comic book day, like little tune, it's unofficially become Phil's like theme song, right?
Yeah.
So like even in today's episode, like Phil walks in like humming and singing New Comic Book Day, and then like I jump out and I was like, "You're gonna buy my new book, right? Right? The Amazing Cliffman, right?" Like, Go check out this week's new Comic Book Day, episode 74, over on the Council of Comics channel. Thank you. But
Yeah,
anyhow, so
y'all do
Sam
weekly
and I,
live streams over there too, right?
we have the Sunday stream at 5, which does not conflict with anyone. So come and join us as we talk about the box office and what movie we watched this week. This week, we're reviewing Soul Food because we want Thanksgiving. We're doing Thanksgiving films. So we have done Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is from my childhood. We've done Home for the Holidays, which is from my childhood. And the guys were not crazy about it, right? But even Sam is like, oh God, oh my God, Cliff is Robert Downey Jr. And I was like, how about you read deeper, Sam? And some scenes I'm Robert Downey Jr. and in other scenes I'm Holly Hunt. I was like, how about that? Let's really rate it. And as we're going through the movie and talking about it, I'm like, I do not like how this movie has taken the veil of my life and peeled it back. Because and it's because it's just one of those super dysfunctional families, but I related to a lot of things in it, right? Holly Hunt letting her daughter drop her off at the airport and run off to go be with some boy for Thanksgiving. That would never happen in my family. That's absolutely never happening. It doesn't, even on the Canadian side, that would have been unacceptable. So you were going to get your butt whooped by somebody, right? It would have been a lot more. It would have been a lot more aggravated assault and yelling if it was the Puerto Rican side. So, obviously, not something I could identify with. But yeah, Robert Downey Jr. being weird and gay, yep, that's me. And then Holly Hunt, really kind of getting into it, people, and what is wrong with all of you? What are the sticks up your ass? That was me. I was like, I don't understand. Why don't you guys talk through your feelings more? That was me growing up. And everyone just looked at me like, who are you, kid? You know? And I was like, obviously my Puerto Rican genes are we should be confrontational and get over it. But so that was our last movie. So we were digging and digging and digging for Thanksgiving movies. And I'm like, well, Soul Food is there, right? And everyone's like, okay, Soul Food. And so I was like, and in the meantime, I haven't seen it in maybe 20 years. So I'm like, yeah. Soul Food. I'm like, and I love Vanessa Williams. I can't wait.
Yeah, I've not seen that one in for a long time. I can't even tell you I don't even remember the last time I saw that movie.
I do remember last time I saw the movie because I watched it on DVD on my new DVD player.
Ah.
And that was around 2002, 2003.
So yeah, 20 something years ago.
So and the movie came out in 1990 something, maybe 1999. So yeah, I just remember, I remember that I cried a lot, and I remember that I love Vanessa Williams. Those are my takeaways from that movie.
Vanessa Williams, I remember her.
Yes, she's still around, baby. And she's a legend. She's amazing.
Yeah.
And I also enjoy the other Vanessa Williams, the Melrose Place Vanessa Williams.
Oh, okay. Forgot about that one. Forgot there were two.
Yeah, it was a big part of my
childhood. That was a big show, and that was a huge show back in the day.
Yeah. Oh my God. I remember, again, one of my trips to Canada, they had Melrose Place and 90210 on the night before it aired in America. And I was like, oh my.
I remember. Yeah, I can actually remember when that aired. It blew up.
It really blew. Everyone in my family was watching it. It was crazy, and I just can't. There's so few shows I could think about in my youth and growing up years. There's so few shows I could think about that everybody watched that, but everyone was watching freaking 90210. Everybody. And then that year where they're like, oh, we're doing the summer episodes. People were like, brand new episodes in the summer. Oh my God. Everyone went nuts. It was unheard of for a TV season to take place over the summer. And it was like, oh my God, Brandon's got a summer job at the beach. Oh, this is really happening. And we're just sitting in front of TV on Thursday night, just eating snacks and watching, just excited.
I'm embarrassed to say that I watched my fair share of 90210.
So funny. so funny.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
some
you
of them have aged amazing, and like some of them terribly. And like the
not
girl
so
who played
much.
Andrea got better looking with time.
Well, she always had all that money though. Oh
Well,
no,
no,
that's Tori.
yeah,
I'm
no, that's
thinking
Tori.
Tori.
No, I'm talking about the chick that played Andrea
You're
Zuckerman. She
thinking
looked too old to play a teenager the whole time the show
she
was on.
did. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they did a reunion, and then she looked young. She was like, "Well, now I look age appropriate, so I'm looking good."
Yeah, the nerdy one. Yeah, I know
The
exactly.
nerdy one. Oh my god!
Yeah.
And of course, I identified with her. Isn't that awful? You know. And I'm like, I like to read. I feel like I'm smarter than most of my friends. I I love the boy on the wrestling team who doesn't want to look at me for even 3 seconds. Like, of course, you know. And then the first pretty brown Latino boy that looks at her knocks her up. I mean, of course that happened. Of course it
Yeah, of
happened. You just
course.
ignored her, Brandon. You just ignored her. I'm the worst. I'm the worst.
Nah. So you did you grow up collecting comics? Was there ever a time that you got out of comics?
A little bit around 2000. Like, I slowed it down when I went away to school. But even then, I still picked up Superman's Wedding Album. I still picked up The Final Night. I still picked up all these little tie-ins. And then we had the Legion, we had the Legion of Superheroes that were lost in time in the past. So I was like, well, I'm gonna grab these too. I'm like, oh, the introduction of Firo Lad. Well, I just can't. Like, I'm like,
It's just
he's
cool
leaving.
though. Like, it's cool finding out with other people. Like, you've had a connection to DC in some form your whole life, and like I kind of feel like that with Marvel. Like, in some form or fashion, Marvel has always had a part in my life. Whether I read the books or not, it's always, I don't know, it's always had its place in my life. It's just
Well,
kind of
listen,
cool
it's
to hear it from
true.
other people.
Because, well, I gotta tell you, so while I'm doing that with the Superman stuff, I also was like, what was it? Oh my god, it's like it's nearly everyone has a favorite part of this story, and of course it's escaping me. Oh, Age of Apocalypse. So of course I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my god, look at this Age of Apocalypse. I was like, look at this foily cover. And so there I am. I'm like, Rogue is amazing as a mother. I was like, this is so great. So I got all of those, fell in love with all of that.
Awesome.
And that was not the same time as Final Night. But what happened was I was like getting into Final Night, and while I was getting into it, I was like, oh, look at this X-Men series that I didn't know about that I have to have every issue. So I started collecting those. And there was Zombie Planet had comic books up in Albany, and Flights of Fantasy. So I would sneak over there, and like one of them like advertised that they were having a sale. So like I ran there for the sale, and I got like all these issues of Superboy Connor Kent, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna get these two. It was awful. I left, and I'm pretty sure it was Zombie Planet, right? And this dude had a whole book where every issue was cataloged on every page, handwritten, and every back issue I bought, he made a little mark that was now a hole in the collection inside this big spiral bound notebook.
Wow.
Right? And I'm like, damn. And by the way, we had computers then. They were ugly, but we had them. And I'm like, spiral bound notebook?
Yeah, he had his own system, I guess.
He did. Let me tell you. I mean, they got computers now, but what? So like, because that story is actually still around. But that was like crazy to me. And I'll never forget, because this was horrible. I had the comics in my hand. It started to rain. I'm running for the bus. And there's this homeless dude who had asked me for change. And like, I'm sorry. Like, I literally just spent all my money. And as I'm running for the bus, the books swoop up out of my hands, right?
No.
And smack down on the ground in the rain. And this dude just laughed and laughed and laughed at me. And I felt like such garbage. And I bagged them all up, as wet as everything was. I mean, they were bagged and boarded. And like, I don't remember anything being too bad. And I got on the bus, and I felt like crap on the bus. And I got back to my room. And in my room, I grabbed a roll of paper towels and I'm there and I'm wiping every single one down. And my roommate's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm patting dry comic books." And he's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Please, like, don't even. Like, I can't. Like, it's just like too much." And I was hiding. That I was buying comic books, right?
Yeah.
And but one day he like was going through the closet, and it's just two freaking sliding pool shed things, whatever, right? So my thing came up and he's like, "Cliff, what's that white box up there?" I'm like, "It's a short box." It's like, "A short box of what?" I'm like, "Stuff I read." He's like comic books. I'm like, maybe comic books, you know? And I was like, I'm like Josue. I'm like, isn't it enough that I'm already your Puerto Rican gay roommate? I'm like, do we need to make it worse with the comic books? He's like, "I don't know. Do you have any X-Men in there?" I'm like, "Of course I have X-Men in there." He's like, "Okay, we're
Of
cool."
course.
You know?
Yes, that's awesome.
Oh my
I like
God.
that response.
Oh my God. Though poor Josue. I love that guy. We went through so much. Yeah.
Who are some of your favorite artists?
Oh my God. Well, okay. So like it's like really funny because like when I was a kid, and of course I'm obsessed with Superman. So I really liked Kurt Swan, right? And I really liked John Byrne.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, because I like John Byrne, it made it easy for me to like his X-Men books when I would find them, right?
Yeah, I love John Byrne.
Um and then I was just kind of like complacent with the art, and it's funny because like I was not crazy about Jerry Ordway on Adventures of Superman. I did not like the big swooping back neckline that he gave Superman's cape, and I was like, no one does this in their comic, just you do this in this comic. Why? So I was always like this, but I still read every Superman book, but I was always like this on Adventures of Superman when he was on it. And now I've met the man and I've seen all of his other work and I absolutely love him and I could care less about the big old freaking swoop on the cape, right? But at that time, it was a thing for me. It bothered me. But yeah, love Byrne and of course, oh my God. And then I saw George Perez's Wonder Woman, and I was like, and my mom was like, "Yeah, Perez." And I'm like, "Yeah, Perez," right? So then that was it. Just because it was George Perez, like that was that. And and then of course I was reading some comic book magazine at the time, and they mentioned him being Puerto Rican. And I was like, "Oh my God." And my mom was like, "Well, with a name like Perez, of course he's Puerto Rican." And I was like, "I know, it's so exciting."
That's good though.
So,
I mean, it's good to have people, of different ethnicities for different children of different ethnicities to look up to.
You want actually? All right. Hold on. We're going to talk about favorite artists, but I'm going to come back to that because like I got into an argument with a friend of mine once about like diversity and visibility and it having meaning, right? But so the very first artist that I was like, I went gaga for the artwork was actually Jim Lee. I was in ShopRite in the supermarket. It's always me in a supermarket buying comic books, apparently, right? And I see X-Men 275 with the gatefold cover. And I was like, I have to have this. This was my very first X-Men book, was X-Men 275 right off the rack in the supermarkets. Because I love that cover so much. And even today, I still really, really love Jim Lee's art, right? Like he just has a special place for me the way people have a special place for whomever, right? I also really loved Arthur Adams. I think a lot of people have a special place for Arthur Adams, right?
Yeah, of course.
But Jim Lee was just huge.
Massive.
And like everyone was like kind of crazy about Liefeld, and I was like, okay, like whatever. I was like this.
Yeah.
I liked Art Thierbert a little bit more, and he did some work on Action Comics, and he did work on X-Men too after Jim Lee left. Oh my God, Mark Silvestri, of course. And McFarlane, of course, McFarlane, but like it's so weird because like my intro to McFarlane is so fast and furious, everybody went crazy about Venom, and then every book that McFarlane had touched, everybody of course jacked up the price on it wherever you went, and there's so few that today there's even less. I think there's less places to go buy a comic now where I live, and I live 30 minutes from my original home. But it's still in a 1 hour vicinity. I think there's less places to buy a comic now than there were when I was 14, 15, 16.
Yeah, that's sad to say, but that's the case here too.
But it's a reality, though. I mean, in all of North America, we have just over 3,000 stores altogether.
Yeah, there's not that many places you can buy comic books anymore.
No, and overhead is
Which,
a
I mean,
real
you have
bitch.
online
Everybody
now.
support your stores, and
Yes,
right, and there's no
absolutely.
overhead online. Unless of course you're Midtown Comics and you basically control the industry.
Yeah, of
Shout out
course.
to shout out to the Illuminati. So look,
But you absolutely have to support your local shops, though. Absolutely.
you, you do. They're being forced to buy their comics through a competitor. I mean, my God. Right? Because one of the distribution channels is owned by Midtown Comics.
Okay. I
And
did
then
not
the
know
other
that.
oh yeah, one of the big ones is owned by them. Of course, the other is Penguin Publishing, but one of the main
Yeah.
distributors is freaking like when DC went solo, right? They went to Midtown. So like it's Midtown owns that distribution service. And then there's I forgot who it is over in California, but there's another huge chain in California. And guess what? They're the distributor over there. So I'm like,
Jeez.
it's sad, man. It is sad, And comics
Yeah.
comics and cards do not have a fantastic profit margin, you know, like just the fact that my retailer, like, what, a $4 book, he's probably paying $2.25 for it. He throws in the
Uh-huh.
bag and board, and if you're a reservist, you get your 20% off.
Yeah.
Like, that's tremendous. But
Yeah.
also the amount of clientele you have to keep the lights on.
Yeah. I mean, and like they have little things like ratios and things like that, but even then it's I would imagine it's hard to make your money.
It is hard. And we got people who get mad at him when he doesn't have big ratios. And he's like, no one buys this comic. How
Yeah.
can
I
I
mean,
possibly have the 1 in 100 for a book I sell 10 of?
right. Yeah. It's like the whole thing with that X-Force book that the one in whatever the
1
one
in
in
25.
yeah,
Which,
that's
by the
hot
way,
right now.
y'all are all wrong for not reading X-Force, because X-Force is fabulous. Fabulous. The villainy of Mikhail Rasputin is fantastic,
That's what I've
And
heard,
it's,
man. Everybody's saying it's good.
dude, it's like, how like you stumble upon a book and you're like, oh shit, I didn't realize that this was gonna be great. This is
Yeah.
that book. Because after the Hellfire Gala, I'm like, well, I'm just gonna get all the X books and see what's up. As soon as
Yeah.
I opened that book, I was like, oh, Mikhail is a monster. I'm like, I need to get older issues of X-Force and figure out what's going on. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God, Colossus killed his wife, and with the remains of his free will, he told Domino to go find the body. Oh my God, like, it was so good. I was like, this shit is incredible.
Have you
When
have you
Domino
read
found that body, I was like, oh,
have you read Uncanny Spider-Man?
yes, I love it.
That was a good read. I've enjoyed
It's
it as
great.
well.
I mean, I am like, I really know my Silver Sable, and I feel like her, like, carrying on an affair in the middle of business is so not Silver Sable like. But at the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
time, it's such a fun read that I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna forgive this bullshit, and I'm just gonna run.
Yeah, I like the two of them so much that yeah, we'll go with it. We'll go with it. But you're right though. That is not something that Silver Sable would typically do.
No, she must have been really hot for that, demon mutant penis. So look,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, there's no
which I
telling you.
imagine that Kurt would make an excellent lover,
I mean, I'm saying like he could probably do some crazy stuff.
right?
But anyways, let's talk about the main reason why you're here. The Toys
Oh
for
my God,
Tots.
there's another reason I'm here.
Yes, yes. You have done this awesome toy drive for the last 14 years.
Yes,
And
and it's
we definitely
incredible. And of course, I gotta thank my friends, Anthony for always playing host, Jim for killing himself every year and doing an amazing job. And Jim, unfortunately, is not a protected veteran. And because of a gay witch hunt, he was dismissed from the military.
oh,
So
that's
like,
horrible.
it is horrible. But I remember one time it was so there's a different staff sergeant every year. And one year, Clarice Murphy, who was the local volunteer, we would always have Marines show up, and she was the one arranging it. Now TJ does it, and he's actually the dad of one of the kids who shops in the store all the time. So that is very, very nice. But Clarice called the current staff sergeant of that year. I want to say it was 2013. And she's like, "You've got to come here. Grab your kids and see this. You do not understand. This is not like a spaghetti dinner. You need to come." And he came, and he's like, "I don't come to these things, right?" He's like, and typically I don't come to these things because they're run by one of our guys or their family members. And if I go, I'm showing preferential treatment, right?
Yeah.
And so he's there, he's dumbfounded. We've got Dave Rodriguez there, and Dave Rodriguez has, hot off of Skylanders. So he's got Skylanders packages there that he autographed for us to do silent auction with,
That's cool.
And we got a couple comic book artists like Christian St. Pierre, and he is just like dumbfounded, right? That we've got raffle tickets being sold, silent auction items, that we've got comic book guests. We had Dave Santiago dressed as Spider-Man.
Awesome.
He's a cosplayer from New York, right? And so he was just so blown away by this. And he's looking at me and Jim, and he's like, "So you guys are civilians?" "Yes." He goes, "And neither of you have served?" "No." And I looked at Jim, and I was like, "Why would you say no so quickly?" Because like I knew, but also I wasn't trying to blow Jim's spot up, because obviously the details of that are, private. But I was like, he's like, "So you guys are just civilians doing this?" And he goes, "Just because you felt it was the right thing to do." And I was like, "Well, yeah, it's great. It's Christmas. Like this, right? It's Christmas. That's the point, right?" And so he was just so impressed. But, not every year do I have a really powerful memory, but that year I have that really powerful memory.
Well, where do you host? Where do you guys host this? Where does this take place at?
Right in the comic book store.
So it's Alternaverse Comics, correct?
Yep, right in Hyde Park. So
Hyde Park, New York.
And a couple of years the store was too small to host. A few years, right? Because he had to move around. So in the years that it was too small, one year we did it at a train museum, the FDR train museum. And it was as small as the room I'm sitting in right now. And it was cold, right? We were so crowded in there. And you can't tell in the photos that we're jammed into a closet, but we are jammed into a closet, right? And I was so devastated. And even with that, we still left there with boxes and boxes of toys. So Clarice is like, "If you need a place, call me." She goes like, "Please." She goes, "These people are really lovely, but we never need to do this here again." And the people at the train museum are absolutely lovely, and it's beautiful. And upstairs they have a running train track with a model Hudson Valley. So like, please go support them. They're lovely. But at the same time, it was so small and so cold. But we did it. We still did it. So a couple years, the school I worked at, we hosted at the school I worked at. And of course, a couple years, a firehouse that Clarice obtained for us, we did it there. And now Anthony has moved into a bigger shop, which you see in the Council Comics. So it is plenty of space for us to host.
Great. That is awesome, man. That's good to hear. What is it about what made you want to get into this and help with this type of community event?
All right, this story is absolutely crazy. So it's June of 2007, and it's the weekend of my father's death, right? And basically, like, we all took turns like sleeping with my mom so that she wasn't alone in the bedroom when my father died. So on my night that I'm sharing the room with my mom, I decided to put on TV. And what's on TV on Bravo? Kathy Griffin's My Life on the D List. And it's a marathon of episodes, right?
Okay.
So my mom wakes up and she's watching with me. And one episode is about Kathy hosting a toy drive in her house with these celebrities, right? And I'm like, what a lovely idea. And I'm like, it just lingered in my mind. and this is going to sound really weird, right? So my father was officially ruled to have died of congestive heart failure. So as the marathon continues, we get to the episode where they tell us that Kathy's father has died of congestive heart failure. And my mom is awake for this, and she's just like, "Oh my God, how are we watching this right now? How is this like? How are we seeing this right now? Just as we found out about how your father died, like literally, right? Like that was what the hospital declared." And so like that kind of like struck a chord with me and my mom for a moment.
Yeah.
But like and you know how like our feelings will tie things together. So somehow this coincidence, right? And by the way, all things that can be said about her, because I know she's got a wild ass reputation and everything, but her show did prove to me she always had a commitment to our veterans, right? She would any show where she would go to perform for them, she was there, right? And like that and her commitment to Toys for Tots, I mean, it just kind of like embedded with me, and I connected, and the way she lost her dad, and it really stayed in my mind.
Okay.
So like I brought it up to Anthony, and he's like, "Well, how would we even go about that?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't even know." You know, and that was like 2007 being a rough year. I kind of let it go, and I let it fall off my radar. And then in 2009, I saw a sign for Toys for Tots, and the box looked almost empty, and it was in my bank, and it was so sad, right? And I'm like, there's got to be a way. So I literally went from doing a bank deposit for my mom and my brother for their businesses at that time, and I went right home, got on the computer, got on Google, and I started looking up the toy drive and how to apply to host an event, right?
Okay.
Put in all the info, let it ride. I got an email back a few days later and a phone call, and it was Clarice. And then someone showed up at Anthony's door and left 4 boxes. And he's like, "Okay." And then that was it. That was our first year, and I think that was December. I want to say it was December 13th, the first time we did it back in 2009, but I'm probably wrong because I can't look back at the calendar like that. But anyhow, dude, it was so cold, right?
Yeah.
And just a few people showed up, and I ordered a bunch of Subway sandwiches because they were like the only place that I could find that would give me a little discount, you know, for the event that I was hosting. And the guy was like really nice, so he gave me like 50% off everything, and he gave me like 75% off the cookies, which is unheard of, right? So like, because you know they're like obsessed with cookie sales there. So like, but Clarice showed up with some of the volunteers, and they came to collect, and like, this is really nice. Like, you guys really put in some effort. And I was like, I know, but like no one showed up. She goes, "But you've got like 3 full boxes of toys." And I was like, okay, cool. So that was the first year. And then like year 2, you know, we didn't get any Marines the first year. Year 2, we had 2 Marines. We were so excited, and people showed up, and it wasn't freezing cold. And Clarice shows up. She's like, "This is really great." And I feel like I'm skipping stuff because obviously Anthony is our host and he helps, but I got Jim involved like right away. And like the first year, Jim was just like happy to be there. But the second year, where we actually had like real success, and Jim had worked so hard, and I thank Jim because Jim really reached out to like everybody he could possibly think of to send stuff, as he did this year. And this year we've got 3 full trunks of board games from every freaking board game company that Jim reached out to. You know,
that is great.
And it's amazing. So like, but that year where things went really well, he grabbed me at the end, and he's like, "Thank you for asking me to get involved with this." He's like, "It's like the most rewarding thing I've ever done." Right. And from that year, which I want to say was 2010, from that year to present, Jim has killed it every year. Jim starts emailing people in January, right? Jim starts getting answers and shit mailed to him in late January. I mean, like, he has just been so wonderful. I love that old man. And and you know, and this past year, you know, he was battling cancer and still receiving donations at the house while going to his chemotherapy. And I'm like, so I can't say enough about Jim. And Jim does not like attention or spotlight. You know, like every year and I mean, you'll see if you look at the photo on the Facebook page, you could clearly see I'm with Jim, Anthony's with his girlfriend, everybody else is a Marine or a volunteer for the Marines, right? So like, and every year it's like, no, you don't want my ugly face in the pictures. I'm like, get over here for a picture.
Get in here.
Like, it wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for him. And I feel like I can never say that enough. But you know,
sounds like a great guy.
He is amazing. But the weird thing is like, yes, I birthed the idea that why shouldn't a comic book store host a toy drive and have a great time?
Yeah.
Like I feel like, why wouldn't our community, like, why wouldn't we answer the call? Why wouldn't that be, like, why wouldn't that go together? Why wouldn't the people who are buying comic books I know not everyone's buying a superhero comic, but most of us are. You know, so like, why would the appeal of putting a little good into the world, especially in the holiday season, why wouldn't that resonate? And it does. It resonates very well. And
there's some great people in this comic book community. So yeah, I feel like the two go together perfect, honestly.
Yeah, it's and just, I mean, look, we literally just experienced it with Comics Curing Cancer, right? And
yeah, absolutely.
It's just incredible. And just knowing in some shape or form, we are really changing lives. I don't know what that $50,000+ is literally going to, but I know friends who battled cancer and who did not have money, and yet funds like those helped her go to Sloan Kettering and get treatment, right?
Yeah.
And funds like those, there are families who are struggling and they don't have assistance to care for their loved ones, and funds like those have paid for the assistance to care for their loved one who's struggling with cancer, so the family members can go to work. And
absolutely,
situations like that.
Absolutely. And you know, and then you with this toy drive, man, like these toy drives help so much. I mean, and just in case there's somebody out there that's not familiar with what a toy drive is and what it does, explain what the goal is. What is your primary goal for the Toys for Tots toy drive?
This is really funny, right? So when I signed up to do a toy drive, I had like a very like classic mindset of it, right? Which was like, we're gonna have an event. The goal of that event is for people to come in, bring toys, rah, 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 sis, boom, bah. We know, have a great day. And we do. We collect toys and money. And I've learned how important the money is, because those flex funds can help fulfill a lot of stuff that otherwise cannot be, right?
Absolutely.
And of course, that's what every nonprofit agency, but like, fact of the matter is that's what it is, right? Yep. But anyhow, so right in the first year, they're like, well, we're going to drop off toys and you can collect the whole season and we'll do a final pickup at the end of the season. So I was like, oh, okay. So right away, it's like, you know, you are a drop-off point and you are registered to have this event, right? And once the staff sergeant has seen it, you know, and they reply to you, they ensure that someone is going to be there to represent the Marines at your event. We've been blessed that nearly every year we've had at least one. Multiple years we've had more than two.
Awesome.
And it's so awesome, because I love when they come and I love that they're excited, and I love that some of them sit down and play games with us. We had dudes play Magic the Gathering with us, and we had what's that game, little something pirates. We had these dudes play it, and Jim was just like so happy. He goes, well, you know, the company sent me more than enough, so you know, like, here's like, because the guy won the raffle for the base set, and Jim's like, here's all the Tiny Epic Pirates, I think, right? And Jim's like, but it's Tiny Epic games, right? So, and this one was the Pirates. Jim gave him all the expansions, you know?
Aww,
and he's like, awesome. Really, for me? And Jim's like, I have more than enough. He's like, there's already 2 full sets in the donation box. He goes, you won the base set, here, just take all the expansions. And the guy was so freaking happy, and he was really nice. A Puerto Rican kid from Texas. But like, it's just nice that all these things happen. And of course, we have the local volunteers and we have the Marines there collecting. And of course, now that we've accepted cash donations and stuff, we always have like a little sign off. And Jim bought a register several years ago. I want to say around year 3 or 4. Jim bought a register, and he programmed the register just for this event. So whenever he makes a receipt, it puts out that it's the Toys for Tots event that we had, in case you want it for your tax records.
That's great. That's great.
Right? Like, I'm like,
Now,
oh my God, Jim.
Now, people can send donations to you guys, right? They
Yes,
people that are watching right now, they can send donations.
So again, you can always DM me for the link on Instagram.
Because I know I personally, I would like to help. I would like to send something myself. So how can somebody that's watching right now, how can we help?
Unfortunately, it's go to the Facebook event and go to my post about, making a local donation. But that donation is for Hudson Valley Toys for Tots. So that's our entire region. That fund helps the whole region. Whereas my toy drive is really affecting only one specific county. But that fund is for all the counties in my region, which is great because technically it's every county that I've grown up in or worked in the last 45 years of my life.
Cool.
Which would be Orange, Dutchess, and Ulster counties, right?
Okay.
So of course, if anyone wants to make the donation, send me a copy of your receipt for your digital donation on my Instagram, and I will put you in for a raffle for a slab because it's the spirit of giving. So why not? Although I'm not sure which slab I wanna give up. I've got my 9.6 foil Batman 608, but I also have a 9.8 Kid Venom kicking around, so I'm kind of torn between the two.
Oh, yeah, man. Either one of those will be awesome.
I mean, I think so.
But
yeah, it's just
okay. If they wanted to send, if somebody wanted to send a package of toys, though, could they send it to the comic shop? Do they send it to that address?
Send it right to. Yeah, the store is big enough, so send it right to Alternaverse Comics. Write Toys for Tots on the box. Basically, if you're, when CGC has a signature series, they say put the initials on the box of who it's going to be for.
Yep.
Yeah, just write Toys for Tots on the box so that we know that goes in the bin. If you want it to be for silent auction or a raffle item, make sure you stick a note in there so we know what you wish to do with it. Otherwise, it's just going right in the box.
There you go. And if you guys look down at the bottom of the screen on the ticker, I've got the address right now. So you can write that down or take a screenshot, whatever you need to do. So you'll have the address. And I'll try to do my part and add the proper links to this and everything and have those for you guys as well. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Cliff.
Oh, please. My whole life is getting cut off and cutting other people off. And
what kind of donations are you guys accepting?
Any new unwrapped toy. The only unusual thing that I ever asked for, I let people know that we still take DVDs as long as they're PG and PG-13, right?
Okay.
And people always side-eye me, and I was like, "What? People got DVD players? They like there's movies to watch." I know that DVDs are almost removed from existence, but still. And one of the things that's on the request list, and it's hard to fulfill, is a backpack full of school supplies.
School
and
supplies. Okay.
Right. And I feel like the reality is that no one is excited by that. I never see it.
But that's something that would be something that would be easy for somebody at home right now to put together and send. It wouldn't be very expensive, and it would be a way to really help somebody in the community out there.
Oh, absolutely. But I also feel like it doesn't sound like a sexy Christmas present.
Well, I know, but it helped.
If you could send this $25 backpack with crayons and glue and pencils in it, or you could send Lady Jane, Snake Eyes, and Storm Shadow, right?
Yeah.
You know what you're gonna do. You know those GI Joes are going out.
I know.
That's what's sitting in front of you. It's gonna be the joke.
So the toys need to be sealed. It needs to be sealed new toys, correct?
Sealed, unwrapped toys, yes.
Awesome.
Which is awesome. And oh my God, one of my friends a few years ago brought in sealed toys off his wall, but they were they were like 7 years old, 10 years old, whatever. And I was like, are you really doing this? And I was like, and won't you be mad if they spike in value next year or something? And it's like, oh, if you don't want them. And I'm like, no, I want them. I want them.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure some kid was happy to have them.
Yo, some kid opened up on Obi-Wan and lost his mind, I am sure.
Well, what's the goal this year? What do you hope to fulfill this year with your Toys for Tots run?
Well, our financial peak was 700, I think, last year. So you know what it is. If we can at least hit 700 again, that would be amazing.
Okay.
And of course, oh my God, and so many toys. So many toys came in, right? It's unbelievable. There was like one year when Toys R Us was still around, they're like, guys, Toys R Us isn't even holding a candle to you right now. Like we've got so many toys that came in through you. And I was like, this is so impressive. I'm sorry I keep scratching my nose. I can't stop thinking about it.
Now how can people go about making if they wanted to do a cash donation?
Again, there's a link on that I've posted that you could send in. And if they want to do a cash donation, I mean, if you want to mail a check and just make it out to Marine's Toys for Tots, and again, you can mail it to the store and mark it Toys for Tots. That's fine. And of course, you're making it out to Marine's Toys for Tots, so not just anyone can cash it, so you're pretty safe. So you can always do that. And again, any of those donations that come in, if you want, I'll throw your name into the ring for a slab. And then we'll just do a drawing for that like the night before, just to keep people excited. I mean, there's just so many ways to give. Of course, I just wish everybody to come up. I'm like, hey, all you got. I was like, Izzy, DJ Links, come upstage, just come up.
Yeah, there you go.
Just take the drive. Just leave early in the morning, like Brian did. It'll be great.
Hint.
Oh my God. The drive up here is rather brutal. But Izzy's coming up. So yeah. As you're watching this at home, Izzy is with us at the Fishkill Recreation Center with me and my other council members. So that's awesome. That I am very much looking forward to that. So it's really weird that this is going to be airing while I'm there. And I'm just like, I'm so looking forward to it. I hope I'm having an amazing time.
I hope you guys are having fun right now, hanging out.
Oh yeah. It should be great. And of course, Very Gary Comics will be there selling comics.
Cool.
And that's another dude. Ramon is amazing as a community member. Ramon Pinheiro, because Ramon is the one who put together Iacon last year. And it was pretty good. And this year, I mean, his social media advertising is strong. He started advertising in January, dude, like immediately. Like Iacon 2 is coming in November. And, we've been psyched about it since. And, yeah, he's just been really good. And he also has been very kind in helping to promote my toy drive coming up as well. And even stuff for my work, any mental health seminars that we have open to the public. He's always reposting stuff for me. So it's really cool. And I'm really happy. I'm really happy with this community here and abroad. You're all amazing people. 98% of you. You know 98%. Who you are. At 2%.
We're watching. Yeah, we're watching you guys. They're probably not watching me anyways. The 2%.
I know one of them. I know one of them is.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, man, what is it that drives you? What is it that makes you want to get all these toys together and everything and do this every year? What is it that keeps you coming back?
I don't just knowing the effect it's having on people, just all of it, just the struggle, I can't tell you how hard my parents worked, and we never had the money, and my parents killed themselves to make sure that we had a great Christmas, to make sure that I had the Hall of Justice, to make sure, which was the carrying case for the Superpowers toys, to make sure that I had the Batwing when the Batman movie toys came out, to make sure my mom stormed a Toys R Us in Paramus to make sure that my brother had a Nintendo for Christmas, right?
That is awesome.
So like
That's awesome.
one time, my mom stormed a Toys R Us. My sister was already a teenager, but my mom stormed a Toys R Us to make sure that my sister had a Cabbage Patch doll. The year that the craze was out of control, my mom wanted to make sure that my sister had one, just to say that she could have one at the peak of madness, right? And it came with the adoption certificate and everything. Like, we all had such a good laugh. But my mom rolled up in there and was like, "Sir, can you please check the back?" You know, that whole "please check the back," it really came from the 80s, and it came from people like my mother, right? So every time you see someone like, "Could you please check the back room?" Even they'll be like, "I know the back room. This little gun tells me there's something in the back room." Check the back room comes from my mother. If you don't do it for you, do it for people. Do it for my mother. Go check that back room.
That's hilarious.
And it's true. It's true.
Will you be back for a year? Are you going to be back for a year 15?
Of course. God willing, always. God willing, always. You know, I gotta step up my game to Jim's level, because Jim is like, yeah, January. Let's. I'm like, Jim, I don't know if we need to reach out in January. No, yeah, let's reach out in January. I love that, man. I love him.
Well, is there anything that we haven't covered that you wanted to talk about that I haven't mentioned yet?
Oh my God. I mean, I feel like there's so much. It's so funny, right? Because I feel like I was like, no, we've really covered everything. But I'm like, you know, I go on. You know, it's so funny. October was tough for me because I support Hudson Valley Community Services food pantries, right? Yeah. And if you look at episodes prior for the Council of Comics, you'll see that I am repping Hudson Valley Community Services. But unfortunately, the Sunday we were having our event was the Sunday of the weekend of Comics Curing Cancer, right? So I made my little social media post that I felt was the least I could do, but I did not feel comfortable trying to promote it in the midst of the Comics Curing Cancer extravaganza, which was amazing, and which I got a beautiful piece from.
What?
that eventually, dude, I only was able to buy one thing during Comics Curing Cancer, one thing, and it is this piece of original artwork from the Teen Titans, and there's a sketch of Teen Titans John Kent Superboy on the back page of one of the original pages, right? And
wow.
Yeah, I still haven't opened it up. Like, it's still beautifully sealed. But like, I came in swinging. Like everything else I had seen that weekend that I was watching that was like Superman related that I wanted, by the time I had a thought to bid, it was already too high for me, right?
Yep.
And this one, it was like a slow roll, and I was like, and I jumped in, and I'm like 50, and it was like, boom, someone else, I was like 70, and then another one, and I'm like 80, and it's like, okay, whatever, I closed, and I was like, yes. And it was like so That's funny because awesome, I was lurking in the comics, and it's Mark and Rob and you know and someone else. So this was a remote who was showing the piece off, right? And Mark and Rob were talking, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, Cliff on Comics, where did he come from? And I was just like, yes. He's like, Cliff, you won. I was like, this is freaking great. I felt like $1 million bucks in a second.
I'm glad you were able to win that, man. There was one piece that I was going after, which was the Trish Forstner Darkwing Duck original sketch.
Of course, your girl Trish, man.
Yeah, man. I had up to $400 to bid on it, and it ended up going for like $450, I think. So, but it raised a lot of money for cancer, so I'm glad that it was able to
more than did the job. And also, what a wonderful person that you had on your show, and was so moved to hear about Comics Curing Cancer that she wanted to come back for your special episode. And be involved and get in touch with Rob and be like, I'm sending stuff right to your house. Don't worry. Like, here it goes. And
She's amazing. She's amazing.
it
Trish
was
is awesome.
it was so awesome. And I want you to know while we were prepping to talk to Rob for Council of Comics to promote Comic Screen Cancer, he had just gotten we're backstage and he had just gotten the Trish stuff, and you could see his mind being blown while he's opening the stuff from his garage. He's like, guys, I'm sorry, I'm just blown away by the stuff Trish just sent. And we were like, oh, like we were all excited, but it's like Rob's face was like, holy cow. And it's just incredible.
Cool. It was really cool the way it all worked out. It all worked out. It was meant to be, and it worked out. It raised, I think her stuff raised like, I don't know, $600-700 for cancer just off like 2 pieces. Yeah, I mean,
2 pieces, almost $1,000 in one. Like that's fantastic.
Yes,
fantastic.
Yes. Her generosity is just blows me away. And I can actually say that she's a friend of mine. Like I talk to her all the time now, and she actually puts up with me. She messages me back. She's really just a great person.
Great. She is lovely. Both her appearances were amazing. Her contributions amazing. And again, a reminder that we have amazing people in this community. And I'm waiting to hear back from a few people. So of course I'm not going to name drop, because like if we're disappointed, we're disappointed. But I think we're going to have a few impressive things show up as I get closer to my December 9th due date, right? So I'm expecting some pretty cool things. But it's just it's and of course I can't wait to get them out there. I'll be like, look, everybody, bid for this. Like, keep sending money.
I do want to personally ask anybody that's watching if you have sealed toys that you could send, if you could help in any way with this toy run, it really is a good thing. It's something that I personally, it's helped in my life personally. With the year that I was struggling in my life, a toy drive helped with me and in my own personal situation. So it hits close to home. It's a really good thing. Please, guys, if you can, just donate in any way. If you're an artist, and you got original pieces, you could donate. Just anything that you could do to help. Just if you just want to share it out, anything that you guys could do that would help would be greatly appreciated. So just something to think about. But what do you got coming up, Cliff? You got anything cool coming up? As far as like what's Council of Comics up to in the next few weeks? What do you guys got coming up?
After this, I'm sure you're going to see a post from us about Iacon, so that's going to be amazing. And awesome. Sunday night, we'll be talking about soul food for our 5 o'clock Eastern time, movies reviews and Blockbuster. 8 o'clock on Monday nights, when we're up against literally everybody else in the comic book community. We're doing comics and keys, and like if you could squeeze in the 5 minutes to say hello when you jump from Comic Book Addicts over to In Between the Lines, if you could just drop a hashtag and say what's up, we appreciate
time for you guys every week, man. I come by. I come see every week.
I do. I see it, and like, dude, I hang by the edge of my seat when I see us like slowly climb up to like 10, 11 people watching. And I'm like, oh my God, there's people finally watching. But like, it's good. I always see it.
You guys are doing cool stuff over there. I love it's really entertaining. I love popping in over there. It's a lot of fun. And I'll be hanging out with you guys soon. I'll be over there hanging out, kicking it with you guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna force you to show up for my birthday month. That's what's gonna happen.
I'll be there, man. I'll be there. I'll be there for damn sure. Well, you got anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
Oh my God, I don't even know. Like, please check out alternaverse.net leading up to the events. And look, Anthony does not have an online store, but he is literally a one-man operation. So if you call, if you email about stuff that you're looking for, like I just had to hunt down the new Miles Morales issues 1 through 8 for my friend in Italy, right? In Italia, right? So I found the issues to send to him. Like, so if you're ever looking for something, it's worth, if you just want to just like toss the line out for a fish, just send an email or direct message. Just hit him up, and like, you know, someone will go do the deep dive and see if we can find a book for you. He's got slabs on all the walls everywhere. I should actually just make a video. Be like, do you want any of these slabs? Reach out to me. Let's make an arrangement. We'll do it. Because Anthony really is wonderful, and like we could not ask for a better LCS, right? Like I said, 20% off for subscribers, and you get the bag and board. Unheard of, in my opinion, especially for someone who still has to pay for a roof over their head. So I guess that's it, because I can't say enough nice things about Anthony. I can't say enough nice things about Jim, and like I wish I could. I'm really looking forward to this, and I'm really grateful that you had me on, and I was able to talk about my comic book origins with you.
Man, I couldn't wait to get the opportunity to hang out with you. I've been looking forward to it. So I definitely want to thank you so much for taking the time to come and record this with me and hang out. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you, Cliff. I always have a good time. You always make me laugh. Like I said when I introduced you, I feel like you're a shining light in the community. I genuinely mean that, man. I really feel like you're definitely one of my favorite people in the community. You're growing up there on my list. So
thank you.
Definitely.
You know? And it's funny. I think it was CJ was on a show. I think it was on a Friday morning with Legion, and he's like, "Oh, come on, like we're all look at me, people, whatever." And it's funny because, like, and one of my friends like kind of picks on me for like wanting attention or whatever, but it relates back to wanting to be the thing you want to see in the world, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like being this queer Latino comic obsesso member of the community, I feel like I just want to be here to make the space that I want to see exist in the community, and that I hope I'm doing a good job of that.
I think you are, and I love that. I like that. I definitely think that you are doing a great job of that, Cliff.
Thank you.
And I wanted to thank all you guys at home who came out to watch us. And please think about sending donations or sharing this out. Help in any way that you can. It's a great thing that Cliff's doing. And I know I really appreciate what he's doing. It's great. It's really a good thing, and it hits close to home. So thanks again, Cliff. Thanks you guys for watching. Come back Monday. I'll have 22 comics in here hanging out. My southern brother from down in I think Birmingham, Alabama. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah,
I love his pick. I mean, like I run to his channel as soon as we're done at the council. I run.
He comes up with some good picks, some good alternative.
He really does. Picks. And like this past week, like there was like a really under the radar book randomly in the 10, and he's like, I don't have an alternative for this. It's like, I think you can find this in the dollar box. Like, just go get this while you can. And I was like, I love it because it was just such a natural, truthful thing. Like I was like, you're absolutely right. You know, don't forget to smash that like button for our good friend here.
Yes, please hit that like button, y'all. And we'll see you again Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll see you guys. We'll leave out with the usual Biggie Shack, and see you guys again Monday. Later, y'all.
I'd say that one is a banger, man. It's a real certified banger, dude.